It's so hard for a game to pique my curiosity on its premise alone nowadays. What do you want? A cyberpunk game, a post-apocalyptic game, a game about the apocalypse, or maybe a game that makes you wish for an apocalypse. So understand me when I say that the instant I saw Indika on Steam, I had to buy it. This picture speaks straight into my soul. And what about the description? Come on, a young nun sets off on a journey of self-discovery accompanied by the devil himself. Last time a story about a nun intrigued me so much I was a bit younger and I was keeping some loot next to me. But if you think it's all smoke and mirrors covering for a boring-ass game, it takes 1 second into it to find out that there's a dedicated sign of the cross button. Oh my god, there's a sign of the cross button. Because this is a good game. But what kind of game is this? It's runner-up for my GOTY list, that's what it is. Okay, it's a third-person, very linear and story-driven game with environmental puzzles. Now it doesn't sound so unique anymore, doesn't it? Well, you're wrong. First of all, despite all its linearity, Indika is the first game of its kind in a long while that doesn't make me feel like I'm wasting my time. Alright, except here, but it makes sense, trust me. This part is just made to filter out all the TikTok addicts with low attention span. Indika is a young nun, she's gentle, pious, and everyone hates her guts because she doesn't sound like an ogre whenever she speaks.
With God's help, we'll make it to spring.
What are you doing in my swamp?
And so they sent her to deliver a letter, which takes her to a post-apocalyptic wasteland? Wait a sec, this doesn't sound right. Oh, sorry, I meant war-torn Russia. Not much to say on this front. You follow a linear path and encounter the occasional puzzles to progress, except it took this one little Russian studio to find out that you can make sections like this not suck by having a character that A, doesn't move slower than a bomb technician suffering from panic attacks, and B, doesn't constantly say out loud how you're supposed to solve the puzzles.
There should be a way to turn the wheel.
Shut up, you little shit. On top of that, I can count on one hand's fingers the number of times the game forced me through one of those slow walking segments that are plaguing the industry these days. And that hand is my grandpa's. He was a carpenter with Parkinson's. Okay, we got the easy stuff out. Now to try and explain what kind of acid trip this game actually is. Might as well start off from the Steam tag down here. Horror.
Just play.
I mean, Indika has this adorable juxtaposition of crude imagery opposed to hilarious scenes that gives the feeling that the devs are making fun of their own game. It's easy to mock Forspoken for believing anyone would actually give two shits about its world building, but here you have Satan taunting you after game over like a posh prick.
Makes sense.
Then there's the 8-bit music that makes even the most dramatic sequences look funny. Or an RPG mechanic where you gain experience by praying and collecting religious relics. Just don't expect an angelic choir playing when you level up. Instead, some Legend of Zelda rupees appear out of thin air to unlock perks like Guild 5, Humility 4, and ability to look away whenever the priest gets a bit too touchy with the kids. To be fair, I was afraid this was all a stunt to make some middle-aged mom angry at the bad Russian game that is trying to turn their kid into a neckbeard wearing a t-shirt with the face of Nietzsche on top. And I grew out of that phase back when I stopped buying Call of Duty games. But here's the thing. This game is as entertaining as it is thought-provoking. Indika is going through a crisis of faith, which is displayed through her arguments with the devil, and they discuss topics like the meaning of good and evil, the definition of soul, or the metric by which an act is considered sinful. And right next to them there's also Indika's other companion, a Russian soldier who escaped from prison to embark on a religious pilgrimage, and there's a version of roles that sees the soldier as the devout Christian and Indika as the disillusioned one who constantly questions her religion was captivating to say the least. So allow me to sound awfully unoriginal. This is the kind of story that can resonate with everyone. Ugh, what's next? Putting a like and subscribe banner under my ugly face? But hey, speaking of awfully unoriginal, remember characters like Aluminium? You know, boring, bland, factually produced characters you would forget after 5 minutes if it wasn't for the publisher's attempts at turning them into mascots? Well, this ain't the case. Indika in particular is an incredibly well-written protagonist. She's emotionally scarred and deeply troubled, sure, but she's also brave and intelligent, and it helps that the voice acting is bloody good, especially for an indie game. Both her and Russian Soldier have a more believable and heartfelt character arc in 7 hours than most games can do in 30. But we did say this game is tagged as a horror, didn't we?
Quiet, quiet, little doggy. We won't hurt you.
You crazy?
Well, it's definitely not scary, but it's deeply, deeply unsettling. From the moment we leave the monastery at the beginning, you notice how weird and unrealistic the architecture is, how strangely people behave, and soon enough everything devolves into physics-defying structures. Gargantuan tuna cans. You navigate through buildings and factories whose design is just not human. It's uncanny in a way I can't even explain, and the comedy ends up cranking up the emotional punches. One moment you're bike racing in an 8-bit flashback and then you switch to brutal displays of violence. In one scene you meet a Russian stormtrooper with terrible aim, and a few minutes after you witness a... how can I say this without triggering the YouTube bots? Cosby move. But then there's the cinematography, and oh my god, the developers here cooked!
That was delicious.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't remember any game where every single cutscene tries to create a unique shot that manages to enrich the scene with pathos and awe. That said, there were a few moments here and there that didn't really click with me. There was a part where I got constantly insta-killed during a chase sequence, and honestly, I'm not a fan of insta-kills. And then there are these moments where Satan steals the mic from Kendrick and begins dissing Indika to no end, which in turn deconstructs the level you're in.
And if, by chance, you were to kill someone and go to jail, sooner or later you'd get pushed out of there as well!
I mean, they were fine, but what you end up doing is just praying to make him shut up so you can take advantage of the newly created platforms. Nah. Prayers acting like a start and stop system on a malfunctioning Tesla didn't really enrich the game's themes for me. But hey, we are kind of nitpicking here now. But the fact is that this game is a bit lacking on the game part. It's functional, it's respectful of the player's intelligence, but it doesn't do much really. It's not a mindless walking simulator, but the gameplay remains fairly basic throughout the entire experience, never pushing the envelope in any meaningful way. And yeah, you have the 8-bit flashbacks, but even those are 3-minute breaks that everyone can predict exist just to juxtapose some horrific event with the cutesy graphics. Been there, done that. And yet, despite knowing that the game was gonna pull an Undertale on me, the ending still left me speechless and made me sit through the entire credits until I could just say, wow. I love this game, I love its style, I love its writing, and I'm going to remember for a long while Indika herself, who became one of my favorite main characters of the year. And she didn't even need to show her buttocks throughout the game to do that.